Welcome to another edition of Jules Voto's Photo Focus. In this video, we will be looking at some of my favorite images I shot in 2024, starting with a few images of the Mummers Parade in Philadelphia on New Year's Day 2024, and ending with a few pictures shot in December of 2024 in New York City. Now, most of these images were personal images, not images for paying clients. So I either shot what I like, or some were shot testing lenses or cameras for my YouTube channel, or just to illustrate a technique also for the YouTube channel. Now, these were some in the snow back in February of 2024 in New Jersey, and I love cropping images square. Some images really lend themselves to square. I used to shoot a lot with a Hasselblad back in the day and just love the square format. So I also love shooting in the snow or in the fog or in the rain or any different weather conditions rather than, just a bright sunny day. And it's just, everything just looks different, and that's good. Different is good. And here's some in the fog in Biloxi, Mississippi. I believe this was also, yes, it was also in February of 2024. And I got up one morning, looked out the window of the hotel room and saw this fog, and I got my equipment and ran out. And all of these were shot actually with the 24 to 200 Nikon Z zoom. And these here were with the Z8 with the 70 to 200 with the 2-time teleconverter. And that's a real nice combination. So whenever possible, I'll try to photograph birds, especially like to photograph birds in flight. Don't always get that opportunity. And eventually I'd love to get that 180 to 600 Z mount zoom. So when I'm out photographing, I am just looking for interesting subjects. Sometimes I will go out with a certain subject in mind, a certain type of photography in mind, such as possibly architecture, wildlife, landscape. And other times I'll just see what I could find, especially if I'm in a new location. This was a shot just in a store window. I just liked the way this mannequin looked with the sunglasses and took a quick shot. Now, also many times, many of the pictures in this video were shot testing a particular piece of equipment, whether it be a certain mode on the camera or mostly certain lenses. Some of these images were shot with the 70 to 200 or the 24 to 200 or the 24 to 70, but also I shot some with, for example, this here was with the 85 1.8 at 1.8 at a basketball game. I also shot with various manual focus lenses that I test from time to time. 28 millimeter, 35s, 24s, whatever I have, whatever I want to test, I'll just take them out in a real life situation, such as these here. Were done either with the 28 millimeter Minolta 3.5 or the 50 millimeter Canon 1.4 FD, just testing the lenses. And I, then do videos on those lenses, on my experience with them, how well they performed. But this was for actually a paying job for this priest. It was his 25th anniversary being a priest, and it was the 25th anniversary mass. This was with a fisheye lens. I recently did a video on the fisheye. This was for that priest. And then recently I just, like I said, did a video on the fisheye lens. It's not a very versatile lens, and this is another shot with the fisheye, but it does work well in certain situations. Now, another thing, you're out photographing and you see something and it looks really good. Oh, you think, wow, this is going to make a good picture. And, so you'll shoot some shots, right? And then you get back, you get on your computer and you say, this may really, it felt better when I was there than when I'm now looking at the pictures, right? And other pictures, you think, oh, that looks really good. And then you revisit it a day or two later and you realize, nah, it really doesn't look that great. This is with the Helios lens with the front element reverse. I did a video on that lens, and I'll put a description to some of these videos in the description below. Now this one, I was photographing these two gentlemen, and then I noticed this pelican was kind of looking in the boat at them, and I thought that was kind of cool. This was at the Italian Market Festival in Philadelphia. This was with the 50mm 1.4 Canon FD. And so this, by the way, that lens performs really well. I personally think the 50 1.4 FD is the best of the manual focus 1.4 50mm lenses that I have ever tested. So I just try to shoot a lot of different things. Experiment with digital, you can shoot a lot. The other nice thing, if you have a high megapixel count camera, such as I do with the Z8, which is a 45 megapixel camera, you can do a lot of cropping later on. And so if you don't have a long enough lens, let's say, well, you could just crop in later. And this is another one with that Helios. And this is using the 85mm 1.8 Nikon Z mount with an extension tube, and just to use it as a macro lens. I don't have an autofocus macro lens, but you can do that with extension tubes. And this was a shot of a tree. To me, it looks like the side of a mountain with the sky in the background, but it was just the side of a tree with some cotton hanging off. So just try a lot of different things. I try to, and I shot thousands upon thousands of images this year. It was really hard to try to narrow it down. So there's probably more images than there needs to be in this video. And, you know, sunsets, sunrises are so cliche, but I thought this looked really cool with this little structure in the background. It was a pier out in the Gulf of Mexico. And I just tried to get the sun centered over that building. I kept moving as the sun was dropping in the sky. And this one here is a sunrise at the Edwin Forsyth Wildlife Refuge in New Jersey. And here we are in Cape May. These images appeared in a recent video I did on shooting in the golden hour. So shoot at all different times of the day. Things look different. Here is an engagement session I did for one of my son's friends. These were all shot with the 85mm 1.8 Plena at 1.8. Shot with other lenses as well, a few other lenses as well, but most of it was done with this lens. And just love the look of this lens, love what it does to the backgrounds. I love the sharpness of it as well as the bokeh. And they were very pleased with these images. Now, ever since I started the YouTube channel several years ago, I, of course, have been doing videos on various lenses, and I purchased a lot of manual focus lenses, and it's fun to experiment. This is with the Olympus 28mm 3.5. It seems that all lenses have a certain look, a little bit different, and it's hard sometimes to put your finger on it, but you do see it. You do. Some lenses are sharper than others. Some lenses are great wide open. Others are better stopped down a few stops. Some show flare. Some produce good sun stars. And so you just try them out, see what you like. This is with a 50mm 1.4 pre-AI Nikkor lens. And backlit, there is a little bit of flare, there's a little bit of loss of contrast, but I really like the look of that lens. This was a walk at the beach in North Wildwood, New Jersey with the 70 to 200. So, you know, sometimes I'll walk around with a 70 to 200. You would think normally, well, that's not a walk around lens. Yeah, but it can be, because it gives you a different look. You know, a lot of people, myself included, will walk around with a 28, let's say, or a 50, or, you know, maybe a 35. But you don't always need just that fixed focal length lens. The zoom gives you a lot more possibilities. And I was just shooting a bunch here. I just loved the way the water looked, the way the light was hitting the water, and showed all that texture. Now, these next few images were shot with the 75 to 150 Nikon Series E lens, which is a really sharp lens, manual focus, And this is at 150 of this squirrel. And then he decided to run up the tree. But I was able to get him in sharp focus, manually focusing. So it's fun to experiment with these different lenses. It's fun to see what they can do. How sharp are they? How do they render? How do they render color? Because that's very important. And the older lenses seem softer, not necessarily as far as sharpness, just in contrast and in color. And this is with that 135 plena. Again, just experimenting. And I love this lens for flowers. It just does such a great job at 1.8. These are all at 1.8. I usually try to shoot it at 1.8 because it just is so beautiful. Who would think a butterfly at 1.8, but it works. Now, we always have a cell phone. Most of us, at least, always have a cell phone on us. And of course, a cell phone has a camera. And this was shot with the cell phone. It's my favorite picture this year that I shot with the cell phone. So there are just so many possibilities. We have so many options. And I just, as I said before, I think it's a great time to be a photographer. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And let me know what you think. Leave your comments in the comments below or your questions. I always try to respond to all comments and all questions. And I'd be happy to hear your constructive criticism of these images. And I usually publish a new video every Monday morning and Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So I will talk to you then.